Look, I got 11:01, guys. I'm going to get things started here. And we're going to follow an agenda today, Leroy, because last week we forgot to ask for the wins and all that good stuff. Let me let Michael in the room. And I am going to share my screen in just a minute so that someone who would like, Yaniv, would you do me a favor and read our purpose statement when I share my screen?
I'd be most happy to.
All right, sharing now. There you go, my friend.
Okay, the 17th Club. We forge a brotherhood where no man walks alone, no potential is wasted, and every man is challenged to discover his purpose, develop his gifts, and live a life of sufficiency. Together, we unlock the man, unleash the mission, and change the world.
All
Amen to
right.
that.
All right. I'm into that.
Hmm.
Thank you very much, Yaniv. I appreciate you. Hey, we got a young man coming in as well. One of my clients. Michael's here. It's good to see you, Michael. And let me see, let me get my technology under control here. So, what a wonderful thing. It is Tuesday, and we are here Tuesday to come together and talk about stuff that men talk about, right? So, first off, let's talk about some wins. Over the last week, did anyone have a win? Joshua, I see you in the room, but I don't see you on camera. So, welcome, my friend. I see you're muted, but if you want to chime in at any point, please feel free to say hello. There he is. There's Joshua. Josh, give me just a second. Hey, guys. Joshua Simonado is one of my youngest coaching clients. He's 19 years old. He resides up there in Canada, and he's joining us for the first time. Yeah, Michael, you're in Canada. So, Josh, you and Michael are probably, I don't know where you are in Canada, and either one of you in geography, but you guys should say hello to each other. Joshua is trying to start a business, Michael. Uh,
Morning, Josh. How are you, buddy?
Good, yourself?
I'm good, my friend. I'm good. I'm in Vancouver. Where are you?
Oh, I'm all the way in Ontario.
Ah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought you guys were on opposite ends of the earth, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
yep.
So anyway, Josh, I want to welcome you, and please feel free to chime in with any thoughts that you have or any questions that you might have for us, being this is your first time. Uh, does anyone have a win they'd like to share for the week?
Yeah, I've got a couple wins.
Yeah, come on, Rob, shout it out.
Okay, yeah. My bad. I didn't know it's off mute. So first win is making it to this Zoom call currently. So that's win number one. I had a chance to go and ride my bike. Gives me peace of mind and gives me clarity while I'm out there. So that was my second win. And then a third win is I'm going to put in for a request of pay increase at my job. So it's not going to just help me, it's going to help the guys beside me as well. And it might even help the actual department. So we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But so yeah, that's my win. Thanks, Frank, for being here. For real.
Hey, Rob, I love it, and thank you for reminding us with your examples of wins. You know, we're not talking about big wins, guys. They don't have to be big wins. They can be big wins, but it could be something as small as enjoying a bike ride, making it to a I don't know what we call this podcast, a weekly meeting, a mastermind, uh, just making it so that you can share and learn and grow, right? So don't get wrapped around, well, I didn't accomplish anything this past week. No, you accomplished a lot this past week. Recognize it, celebrate it, acknowledge it, because that's what makes us better by realizing that even those little things that we do, some of the, you know what? I went out for a walk this morning. That was a win for me. And those of you who know me say, what are you talking about, Frank? You walk every morning. Yeah, but I didn't want to this morning. It was freaking hot. I'm tired. I'm sore. Every inch of my body is sore. I can't figure out why it's sore, right? But I said, I can't do a lot, but I can still get out there and do it. That's a win. That's a win. Self-discipline is doing the things that you know you should do, even when you don't want to. So get out there and do it. Anyone else?
Frank, I got a win, and I think it's good to share here with men. Met someone. Met her online. She's a Filipina. She's from Cebu, Philippines. Um, she's a smart one. She deals in blockchain and crypto. I think I hit the jackpot here. So we've been talking regularly, every day. So it's been really good. The direction it's headed has been really good. We have completely vetted each other because doing this thing online, long distance, the vetting process has to be there. So we're meant to make sure we're not bots or asking for money or anything like that. So I met a legitimate woman, very beautiful, very happy, blessed. You talked about discipline. Being a single man in today's world, 55 and dating is brutal. Like I said, I can build a dossier on anybody pretty quick. And when that woman's sitting across from me talking, I'm already reading right between the lines. No more ambushes for this man. So, it's tough. But I think the thing about the Philippine women, just the culture. First they're Catholic. So when you're in a relationship or start talking about marriage, it's for real. And secondly, they're just traditional women. Traditional women. This woman doesn't need money. She's making great money with what she does. She supports her family. She's a breadwinner. But the whole traditional thing, really is attractive to me too. It's hard to find that traditional. You know, Unless you're in the South and you live in a town where there's just a dirt road. It's tough to find some traditional, women. So yeah, I'm pretty happy if you can't tell. So yeah, it's going
Well,
well.
I love it, Rob, and congratulations. And the gentleman, at least on my screen, is just to the left of you, Yaniv, who is coming to us from the UK. His wife is Filipino, if I remember correctly, Yaniv, correct?
That's correct, my friend. That's correct. Well, Rob, congratulations. I think you did hit the jackpot, most definitely, 100%. But they're very loyal and very respectable as well. But my friend, be prepared to eat a lot of rice and a lot of fish food as well. Yeah.
I love it. All right, all right. Enough of the dating game. All right, let's move on. Anyone else have a win they want to share this morning? Luis, it's good to see you here again, my friend. Look, you know what? Luis has been, in his words, swamped at his dojo. He's This is summer camp season. So for those of you who are wondering, wait a minute, where's Luis been the last couple of weeks? Well, he's been busy. He's been busy. And Luis, I know you probably have some wins playing. I shouldn't say playing, working hard with your young men and women who are involved with your martial arts studio. Why don't you share a couple with us?
Yes, well, thank you. Thank you, Frank. Yes, guys, last week I couldn't attend because we took the kids to the movies. We went to see Toy Story 5 as part of the activities that we do. So fun. And it really releases 3 hours of our day with my coaches. So the kids are sitting down, traveling and all that. So that's wonderful. Yeah, no, we're for most martial arts schools, for most of them, not for all of them, for most, summer is a really slow time of the year. People leave, vacation, canceling memberships, stuff like that. These are the 2.5, 3 months that we make more money in the whole year because of summer camp. So, because every summer camper pays 3 to 4 times what a regular tuition is for karate. So it's really good. So yeah, we're uh, adjusting with the chaos, but I just came back and I got here late because I just went to change the oil. My son's birthday is next week, Tuesday, 1 week from today. He's turning 16, so I went to buy him a pickup truck. So I went to buy him a pickup truck and I went to change the oil and of course check it out and all that. So I was expecting to be there in 10, 15 minutes, oil change and something with the fluids, with the antifreezer and all that. So take care of it. I don't care. So $250 back afterwards.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
and it's okay. I have the means. Life is great. I was just telling the Club 17 last night in Spanish that it makes me feel good as a father, as a leader in my family, that I am able to do these kind of things, that I can go and buy my car, my kid a car, and I'm gonna make him pay for it though. He's gonna pay the last $5,000 on it,
Yeah.
but I'm giving him the car. It's like right here. So it's that sense of feeling like a provider, right? Like you're
Yeah.
taking care of it with a
Yeah,
good
totally.
car that I know he's gonna be fine. He's not, man, for most of us, we would like to have the freaking truck. It's really cool. So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Well,
that's what's being. We went to a wedding this weekend with my wife's family, friends growing up in Louisiana and all that. So it's been wonderful. I mean, busy, very busy, but it's been a blessing.
nice, nice. Well, I want you to know, for one, I miss you on Tuesday mornings. So hopefully you can regain control of some of that schedule,
No,
so that we can
count on
hear
it. Count on it.
more of your words of wisdom.
Yes, I will be here. Thank you. I
Uh,
missed you too, guys.
all
Welcome
right.
back, Yaniv.
Yeah. Yeah. Neve took a break from us for a little bit, but he's back with us. So look, guys, this week I asked that everyone read chapter 4 in Think and Grow Rich, the original version on autosuggestion. So when I say autosuggestion, affirmation, what does that mean to you? Self-talk. What is that? So when you hopefully read the chapter on autosuggestion, what was the message, the big aha that you walked away with? Okay,
Can
I
I
guess we're done for the morning.
can I add? Yeah, for me it's visualizing, visualizing, and something that I keep repeating myself that I want to get, but I have to convince myself by continue saying the same affirmation, the same things over and over and over and over and over again until it goes into my subconscious mind. And then through it, without realizing it, I actually producing results because if you repeat a lie enough times, you start believing in it. And that's how the auto-suggestion really works. You actually repeating stuff into your subconscious mind and you're actually producing the results without you noticing it
Yeah,
because you're pathing your own way through words, through affirmations, through goals. And since I've came back and doing it again, obviously I took some break because I had some stuff to deal with family and etc. But just recently I started reading Think and Grow Rich again. And it just, I don't know if this book has got some magic form in it, to be honest. Since I started opening Think and Grow Rich again, things start happening in a positive way. Yes, I do read the entire chapters, the entire book again. So yeah, also suggestion for me is keeping repeating stuff, which eventually my subconscious mind will believe it.
yeah, I love that. Yaniv, thank
Thank
you so
you.
much for sharing. And yeah, you're right. There's some type of magic formula in there. Every time I was just telling the guys yesterday that every time I go to the book and start reading, I've already highlighted in this book multiple times. But I find that when I start reading again the same chapter over again, all of a sudden I'm missing stuff and highlighting other stuff that didn't impact me the last time I read it. So going back to it. And I think the most important thing about it, whether it be Think and Grow Rich or any other book that's focused on personal development, it's it's the information that we're putting into our minds. And that's what autosuggestion is. We're
Mm,
putting information into our minds. And you're absolutely right. If we lie to ourselves enough times, we're going to start believing the story. You
yeah.
know, Many of us believe the bullshit stories that have been sold to us because we keep hearing them over. We've accepted them. In the book Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill tells a story about criminals, people who actually get involved with crime. When they first get involved with crime, they're abhorred by it. They can't stand it. It's horrible. And then the longer they stay connected with it, and they've got that information being implanted into their subconscious mind or into their reality, their environment, they start to accept it. And then last but not least, they actually begin to enjoy it and love it, right? And so anything, and I'm so glad that story just came out of me because anything, positive or negative, can be supplanted in your mind by the things that we say to ourselves, the stuff that we listen to repetitively over time, the things that we read repetitively over time, negative or positive. So I hope we dive a little bit deeper into both of those aspects the rest of this morning. Go ahead, Rob. I see your hand up. Rob McCaslin.
Yeah, so one of the things, a couple of things come to mind, Frank, and one of the things that comes to mind is being able to have that honest conversation with yourself. Each of us, only us and God know the whole story. So being able to have that conversation with yourself and being able to check yourself, and what I mean by that, when those seasons come that are rough, they always will. Having that conversation, keeping yourself empowered and uplift yourself, because there's all these voices around you that is trying to make it worse than what it is. But just having that conversation with yourself, and being able to fight the fight in your mind, and have those positive affirmations. It's not that bad. Things are going to be better. Today's a great day. Thank you, God, for my life. Just all these different things you can use and say to supercharge yourself and get into that mental state to where you're in a better situation than if you just listen to the noise around you. And then talking about what gets put in your mind, the other day, a buddy of mine drove up and he was listening to Audio Slave, and it's this rock and roll group. And the song, I know the song he was listening to, and he asked me if I knew the song. I was like, yeah, I know the song. But myself, I've chosen to really not listen to that type of music anymore. As a kid, I was AC/DC, Aerosmith, the '80s. But I've just chosen to put different things in my mind, especially in the morning. So definitely rock and roll is just not one of them. I don't judge my friend; he does what he does. But I just think if you just take control of all the noise around you, it turns into just a better day.
Wow, what a great message you just shared, Rob. Being intentional about what it is that you're listening to when you're listening to it. You know what? I'm an AC/DC fan. I saw Aerosmith when they started in the 1970s. I saw them. It cost me 50 cents to see Aerosmith. That's how long ago that was, right? Michael's laughing his ass off. But at the end of the day, guys, we get to choose what we put in. We get to choose what we put in. So what are you putting in? Sometimes I go for my walk, I'm listening to rock. Sometimes I'm listening to easy listening music. Sometimes I'm listening to a book. This morning I was listening to Earl Nightingale. What are you putting in? Ask yourself, what do you need? What do you need right now? Where's your mind at? Right? So feeding that stuff in. Napoleon says thoughts are things. He also says we become what we think about. And that's a message that Earl Nightingale really shares repetitively over time. We become what we think about. So, what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about the failure that you are because you're overweight, out of shape, lazy, sitting on a couch? What are you thinking about? Are you filling your mind with opportunities or with ear candy? Putting some stuff in there that makes you go, I think I'd like to do that. Okay, well, that's the first part. It was a thought, I think. Now, what can I do to be able to do that, right? Go ahead, Luis. I see your hand up.
Like Van Halen would say, there's a time and place for everything. There's times for music, there's times for rock.
Yeah.
There's times when I choose exactly, Rob, what I listen to it. I have my morning routine and all that. But fuck it. Sometimes I want to scream and just bang my head and let it go. The emotions run, and there's nothing wrong with it because I was judging myself at one point. Like, I'm not listening to music anymore. Why? Well, I'm listening to all this stuff, but sometimes we need to let it go. Let it go, right? Anyways, no, auto suggestion.
I think he's
Oh,
trying to get a record contract, guys.
no, I can't sing for shit, buddy. You don't want to hear me singing.
No, we
No.
just did. We're done. Thank you, Luis.
Yes, thank you very much. I just broke some speakers out there, some screens. No, auto suggestion. Well, let me tell you, auto suggestion was my biggest ally to winning the world championships that I won. Especially when I was running, doing the stuff that I didn't want to do, lifting weights, running, doing things that I really did not want to do. But in my head, I was doing something else. I was seeing myself at the podium. I was seeing myself fighting with the guy. Didn't see a face. I just saw a guy trying to punch me, moving in the ring with everything around dark. And I was just punching, kicking him, moving, and getting that gold medal around my neck. So that was the auto suggestion for me. For many years, that's what I did, especially when I didn't want to do it. When there were times, few I can count with my hand, the 2 or 3 times, 5 times that in many years I wanted to be at a party with my friends. I rather to be at the karate school training because I wanted to win so bad. So the auto suggestion for me is, what is the end? What do you really want? What the future, the rewarding, the price, the reward has to be compelling. And now our transition for me was to move that to real life, business, relationships, and all that. Because I was like a fish in water, training, competing, in front of thousands of people. I didn't care. But speaking in front of thousands of people was different. Now I can do it without a problem. So I need to shift that, right? So that little voice, um, Rob was saying, what that those voices, who are you listening to? We have the good guy, the bad guy, the guy that allows you to, gives you a break, the one that says, it's too hot today, it's too cold today, you're tired, you're sore, we're gonna skip today. But then there's this other guy telling you, you pussy, don't you want that freaking gold medal? The other guy that is fighting you, that is he's getting ready, he's doing more push-ups than you are, he's training more rounds than you are right now. What are you gonna be up to? And it goes, what are you gonna do? What's your decision? But this is the cool part. Once I realized that there was another me listening to this conversation, it became different. I don't know, supraconscious, supraconscious, superconscious, I don't know. But is that me seeing that battle in my head, that conversation in my head?
Yeah, it all kind of comes back, Luis, to who's the person I need to be what I want to be, right? To achieve what I want to achieve. Who do I have to become to get that?
Yeah.
And when you're listening to those voices, and we call it, your other self, we all have different personalities within our bodies. It's not schizophrenic, but we all have this, right? And it's which voice are you going to listen to?
Yeah.
It's
What part of you you're bringing to the party, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always, you can show up to the gym and give half-ass workout. Well, part of me would say, well, at least you showed up at the gym. The other half says, well, why didn't you give it 100%? You were already there. Why did you give it less than what you had? And those are the things that go through your mind every single freaking day. What are you going to listen to? What are you going to take action on? Are you going to accept for yourself the limited success that we can all have? You know what? I'm looking in the room. I see books behind you on Eve. I get books surrounding me. I see, Joshua sitting there. It looks like he's got some trophies on his bookshelf back there. We all live a pretty good freaking life. I don't see anybody sitting here in a tent, heating the room with a campfire. We're all living pretty good. But we could have so much more in our lives. Now, I'm not talking about material stuff. I'm just talking about living life to the limits. Whatever definition that means to you, right? It doesn't have to be somebody else's picture. It has to be yours. It has to be your dream. What do you want your life to look like? And then start filling it with the information that helps you get that. And that's what autosuggestion is talking about. We are what we really. Several times already this morning, I'm remembering the story, The Little Engine That Could. Yeah, you guys all remember that when we were kids, right? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Well, do you still say that to yourself now? I catch myself still saying that to myself now. 70 freaking years old, walking when it's 105 degrees outside. It's hot. I'm tired. Freaking sweat's dripping on my eye. I'm getting pissed off because I have to keep taking my sunglasses off and wipe the sweat off. But yeah, I can do it. I said I was going to do 5. I'm going to do 5. I can do it. Yes, I can. That fits in that's self-talk. Something as simple as that. When you're coming up against the wall, when you're getting bored with something that you've taken on and is not exciting anymore. It was exciting when you thought about it, but now you're in the middle of it, right? You're up for that midnight run, Luis, because you couldn't fit it in the rest of the day. But you got to get out there and get that cardio training in, and you're out there doing it, even when you don't want to freaking do it. But you're just talking to yourself. You're encouraging yourself. Phil, go ahead, buddy. I see your hand up. You're muted, Phil. It's Phil's first day at his computer.
Yeah, my mouse battery wasn't working. I couldn't take this off auto suggestion there, right?
Come on, buddy.
The yeah, I really love this topic too. It's like we were talking earlier about what is who are we, what we being, and what is the vibration that we're in. That's what the subconscious mind is, really. It's all about that's the emotional side. Emotion is simply the vibration. So that's the science part of it. And I always like to bring the picture to the stick person because it gives me an image to focus on. Am I focusing here, and how many of those thoughts do we have? Do they measure 60,000, 100,000? No one knows that. But the scientists have shared with us that there's a vibrational, emotional feeling that we can check into with ourselves, that we can write in a journal. So I think journaling is so important for me. It's gotten me to the point where I'm going to be thinking something anyway. So I might as well think of what I want to as opposed to what I don't. I was having a conversation last week with a woman in a funding company, and conversation came around with what I do, and she said, "Well, yeah, I have a copy of Think and Grow Rich here, but I'm not into this whole Napoleon thing Napoleon Hill kind of thing. I don't know if I think." I said, "Well, forget about Napoleon Hill or forget about Think and Grow Rich. Would you say that you're thinking all the time? And what are those thoughts that you're thinking? Are you thinking automatically denial? Or are you thinking, oh, yes, I can do it? Or are you thinking, which way are we going with it?" Here we have a holiday, weekend coming up, celebrating 250 years of freedom, which is awesome in the U.S. And, being with family, the big thing is like people might be saying, well, why don't you get a real job doing real things, And am I going to allow that conversation to rent space in my head? Or am I going to switch it around and I'm going to write the things that I'm desiring? I know why I'm here, help people through adversity. And I know that things can be different than how it appears on the outside. Autosuggestion is one of the powerful tools that keeps me going. Like I was learning how to skate and play hockey. Do I let the times I fall down get in my way? There was something inside of me when I was a young boy, and I didn't know what was going on. I just knew there was something that said, "Get up, keep going, don't stop." And whether it's skiing or hockey or golf, whatever it is, music. I love music. Playing piano is like when you get those right chords, that vibration is there. We're talking about all kinds of music earlier too, and that's what I love. Is that I watch YouTube. I watched videos of music, not just like Spotify and listen to the music. I do that as well, but when I need to step up my vibration, how I'm feeling, I do go to music first. That music therapy is helpful, and then I have to write down in my journal for me to have the picture because writing produces the thought, produces the feeling, and then I get the clear picture of myself being the free person I want to be. And uh, that's why I have suggested for people to do, that I get a chance to work with and meet. I said, get a journal, write out what you're feeling, check in with yourself every hour. And the auto suggestion it's huge. We have to control the conversation for ourselves because that's all we can do. We can't control any other person. We can only control what we allow ourselves to think. We had a great conversation yesterday. What do we tolerate? What's my value? Do I value no effort, so I want it to be given to me? Or do I value I'm going to make myself uncomfortable so that I can make a difference for me and make a difference for somebody else? And we have to answer that question for our own.
Yeah, thanks, Phil. Thanks for the reminders. And by the way, I listened to Jim Rohn the other day, and he talked about how he uses a journal. You're bringing in journaling. Journaling is fantastic if you don't get all wrapped around what are you supposed to write. And Jim says in his dialogue, "Yeah, I said, I don't use a journal like most people would think I use a journal. My journal comes with me all the time. And sometimes what I'm writing in my journal are just notes from the meeting I had today. Just a note about this fantastic person I had a conversation with today." In other words, he's journaling his experiences through life. And speaking for myself, journaling is challenging for me because I do it in the morning and I'm trying to create this dialogue of, what did I do? I did it this morning. Oh crap, I didn't do shit yesterday. Well, what am I gonna write in my journal? I didn't do. Well, no, maybe we need to use the journal differently, kind of like a log, of your activities throughout the day? What impacted you? You saw something when you were driving and it had that image, that impact had an image on you as you drove by. Well, don't do it while you're driving, but maybe when you pull over, make a note of it. What was that image? What did it create? What's the image it created inside of you? Right. And so those of you who are journaling, I hope that you're doing it in a way that it's advantageous to yourself, not just something you feel like you need to do because Phil or James, Jim Rohn or Earl Nightingale said it's something you have to do. No, do it because it's rewarding to you, that it gives you something to reflect on. And reflection is a great thing when it comes to self suggestion or auto suggestion. Reflect on the thoughts that you've had in the past and why did you think about that. You know, I've heard stories of people, put a notepad on your nightstand because when you wake up in the middle of the night with this thought, most of us just say, "Oh, that's great," and roll over. I'll remember it in the morning. No, write it down because tomorrow morning you probably won't remember that flash of inspiration that came to you at 2 a.m. Right? So some of those habits. Go ahead, Luis.
Real quick, just one thing. We need to do some uncomfortable stuff. Like we weren't good at what we do nowadays when we first started. So it's just the creation of a new habit. And how can we enhance that?
Yeah.
Auto suggestion. It's just one more tool. It's not about more work. It's just one more tool without putting pressure. Just like you said, I have something to write down in the mornings. I'm writing down and I have my phone ready to, make a voice note or whatever. Always be receptive to, right? Because we all have been there. Oh man, that's something great. I'm gonna write it down when I don't have anything to write down. And then you're 30 minutes later, what was that? What did I think? Right? All that kind of stuff. So it's just one more thing that we can do about getting better at what we do is that just adopting a new habit.
Yeah, I got a great comment in here. Michael just threw it in the comment section. I found far too many people are comfortable working hard rather than doing hard work. Yeah, we're more comfortable working hard rather than doing the hard work.
Make a t-shirt, Michael.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, just a caveat on journaling. When I retired in 2018, they put us in my unit. We had to go through before you got out. You had to go through a 6-week mental boot camp. So it's where you hula dance, you meditate, sleep camp. I mean, just all these different tools. And journaling really stuck to me. It made sense to me. I don't know if you can see them right here. I have several journals that I'm writing in. And it just keeps me on task mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, because I use it in different ways. Some days I'm grateful for things. Some days I need just some structure. Some days I just need some goals, tiny ones that I need to call my son, this or that. So I love journaling. And then for auto suggestion, one of the things, I'm in this other chat group of military guys from the unit, and alcohol is such a huge culture in the military. It's just, let's go have a beer, let's sleep it off. Well, this specific group is, we designed it to talk about alcohol. And one of the things that worked for me when it came to alcohol was that routine, that habit, that 5 o'clock witching hour. Am I going to get the bottle or am I going to do something else? So what I did was I put whiteboards all over my house. And these whiteboards are things that before I walk out of my bedroom, there's a whiteboard. And I wrote down a bunch of things that I'm going to do and I check them off. And then when I come back in my bedroom, if I didn't do them, I feel like a shitbag. So, so that whiteboard holds me accountable for going in and out. And I also write things that are grateful, that I'm grateful for. I have plenty of things to be grateful for. But if I walk by that damn whiteboard and I don't write anything on it, again, I feel like a shitbag because I didn't say I'm grateful for my kids. I'm grateful that I'm alive and my buddies, some of my buddies didn't make it home. I'm grateful for this. There's things to be grateful for. So I just check myself, and then that, seeing that, writing that down, it really does help.
Yeah, I love that. Exactly. Putting write down what you want to do, put it around you where you can't avoid seeing it. Right. So you're gonna walk right into it. Did you commit? Did you really commit to doing something? Well, why didn't you do it? And Rob says it so eloquently, and you feel like a shitbag. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, sometimes you do. Because you know that you're lying to yourself. When you say you want to do something and then you fail to do it, you're just lying to yourself. You're not impacting or affecting anybody else in most cases. It's just you. So be true to yourself. Be true to what you really can do, what you really want to do. Desire is the starting point of all achievement. That's what we talked about back in chapter 2. And now we're talking about self-talk and affirmations. What are the affirmations that you say to yourself? There's a great book out there. What do you say when you're talking to yourself? And how many negative things did you say to yourself this morning? Today? Yesterday? Are you aware that you're even making those kind of statements? Because we need to guard against those negative suggestions. When you catch yourself saying, I'm too lazy, I'm too fat, I can't do that, I'm not good at that, just pause for a minute and say, no, that's not right. Yes, I am. I can do that. If I really want to do it, I can do it. Do you realize that anything you really want to do, you can do? Anything? Anything. And if you choose not to do it, that's fine. That was your choice. But just understand that you could do it if you wanted to. And we've all proven it at some time in our lives. Everybody in the room right now has done something that someone else agreed with you and said, you can't do that. One of my life learning lessons was my father telling me, I always knew how to get you to do something. I just told you you couldn't. It was inbred in me for some reason. If somebody told me I couldn't do it, I had to go do it. And some of you were just like that too, right? So just tell yourself, look in the mirror. Yeah, you're right. You can't do that. You pussy. You can't do that. What? And that fires some of us up, right? So fire yourself up instead of letting yourself down. Luis.
Yes, you were touching on something, but and when we feel like shit, absolutely, because we know our potential, because we've done something like that in the past, right? But also because we are successful to a certain degree, all of us, sometimes don't we put too much shit into our to-do list? And then we want to scrap, and we're scrambled to try to do 15 things when we should be doing 1 or 2. That's what I was thinking. Well, so because last night we were talking about that, like chapter 8, attend. I forgot the name of it. Controlled attention, something like that, right? And we're trying to do so many different things, but proven over and over and over the best at something is because they can do 1 or 2 things really, really good. And not trying to do 25 different things. And yes, and we can become really good at other things after we become really freaking good at 1 or 2 things. So I was thinking about that. So there's that balance, right? Because what if the conversation is, yeah, you need to do this, 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 and before you know it, you can't say no to anything or anybody. And you're failing it to yourself all the freaking time.
Yeah, Luis, as you're saying that, one of the things that comes to mind, somebody once told me, every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. And I really keep that in my mind. Every time I say yes to something, I'm saying no to something else. Because we put too much shit on our calendars. Stuff that's not important. So the first question we should ask, is this something I really need to pay attention to? If I don't pay attention to it, what's going to happen? And if you can live with the consequences and it's not that high of a priority, then focus on your freaking priority. Most of us really struggle when somebody says, well, what do you want in your life? What do you want? And what we don't understand, or what we should understand, is that whatever we want, we can have. We get to make that choice. But then the question is, after we decide what we want, are we willing to pay the price? And I think it was Michael in a recent conversation over the last couple of days that said, are you willing to do what's necessary? And if your answer to that is no, don't waste your time. Or ask yourself the question, well, why isn't it worth the effort?
Yeah, the framing around it, Frank, was that if people are struggling to understand what they want, right? A lot of people know what they don't want, but it's harder for them to identify what they do want.
Right.
Then one of the questions to ask yourself was, what would you invest or what would you sacrifice to get it?
Yeah.
And it's a very fast way of prioritizing what your real wants are, what you're really hungry for, what you really desire. Would I sacrifice that for that? Because if you put down 10 goals or 10 wants on a piece of paper and you go, okay, I compare want 1 to want 2. I want two more than I want one. Okay. What's better, 2 or 3? Turns out 2 is better than 3. Great. What's better, 2 or 4? Oh my goodness, I want 4 more than I want 2. Right? And you pretty rapidly figure out what your number one priority is when you can only have one or the other.
Yeah, just listen to that process. I mean, that's a process, what Michael just shared with us. You know, and if you haven't read a book called The One Thing, and I mention that quite often in this room, because that's what that whole book is about. It's about focusing on the one thing that's most important at this time. See, a lot of people get confused. They say, well, what, I can only focus on one thing? No, it's the one thing to focus on now. So you're asking yourself, what's the most important thing for me now? What's the most important accomplishment that I am working toward? What's the achievement that I want? That's most important right now. And what's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary? So you're only focusing on all those things that align with what it is that you said that you want. See, it's really not hard, guys, but it's not simple. You know,
Frank, can I add something really quick to this?
Absolutely.
Because I think a lot of people are obsessed with this idea of keeping their options open. And they say, oh, I want my cake and I want to eat it too. And it's like, that's great. But you can't bake your cake and eat it too. And that's the mistake that most people run into, I find, is that they're attempting to consume their cake while they're baking their own cake. And so they stay completely stuck. They stay in inertia. Nothing ever comes to fruition. The cake doesn't actually bake. They don't actually ever get to eat it because they're so busy keeping every option open. They're so busy keeping everything on the table. They're so busy, I should be able to get what I want faster right away and get this thing that I want and that thing that I want and that thing that I want. And as you said, you can have anything. You just can't likely have it all at the same time. It's going to require too much effort because, as Lewis put it, there's only one thing you have that you never get back, and that is this moment.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Michael. And you know, I just experienced this in my own efforts as a coach. You know, someone said to me, might be someone in this room, I'm not sure, but someone said to me, you know, most coaches think they can help everybody. And the reality is that most coaches can help anybody. They can help everybody, but you can't help everybody at once. So you need to focus on what is it that you want? What do you want to do? What do you want to serve? And so I started saying, well, you know what? What I really want to do, and it was a result of a core group of this group of people here, is I want to help men. I think men are struggling right now, and so I want to help men. So my marketing started to gear towards I help men do whatever that is, right? And what's interesting is every once in a while I said, well, gee, I just pissed off all my friends, all my woman friends on Facebook because I only help men. Yeah, so what? So what? That's where I focus. Got nothing to do. It's not a negative thing against women. It's not a negative thing against anything. It's just I want to focus on helping men. And if I focus there, then I can be better at my focus and my efforts and the tasks that I go after to do that because I'm narrowing that focus. And don't worry about all the other stuff around you. Right? Go ahead, Phil.
Yeah, this is really, really, really good information. And there's so many different rabbit holes. I think summing it in together, it's about making a decision. And we have to decide what is it that we want. This is where we're seeing all these principles come together and they aren't separate. They're inseparable because it's part of who we are, who we are at our core. That's why we have to be aware. What is our desire? Why are we here? The purpose. Make a decision aligned with that and keep on telling ourselves. One of the things so if I get a message that I got denied for funding, does that mean I don't have a worthy ideal? Does that mean I don't have a goal? No, it simply means from the perspective of someone who made that choice, they made a choice because of X boxes. That doesn't mean anything to where I can go. If I'm a man and, happy to hear Rob has a great little honey that he's going to hope you all do have somebody special in your life. Well, when you discover that there's, say a woman who's now with some guy that you thought they were both in committed relationships, and all of a sudden it's like it's not me. It's because it wasn't the right connection. So I'm still a worthy person. I'm still can attract the woman who I want to be with, but it's not affecting me when she says no. And to not personalize that, those things that come at you negatively don't align with those. Make a decision what you are, who I am, And the journaling can help you process the emotion, because we don't want to suppress that emotion. It has to be expressed in some kind of way, so we can like Luis was talking about earlier, just shake out that energy, right? It's like, do something physical to release that energy so that it gets out of you, so it's not part of you and held in, because guys can hold that in, and we can be threatened with using violence or using physically to do things that are going to harm or hurt other people, or even hurt ourselves too. So how do we emotionally keep ourselves in a safe place? I've seen so many people who are great leaders. There was a person who I knew very well, would work at Bob Proctor. He was one of the top consultants, and he completed a suicide because there was an area inside of him that was stronger muscle than the other muscle of what I can be and who I am. So we have to do this every day. We have to be diligent with ourselves and make a decision. This is a clear thing, is I'm not looking to escape something, which first draw me into this type of work. Am I looking to get out of a situation that I don't like, or am I really looking to do something that I want to be doing? Am I really free to just be who I am, be where I want to be, whenever I want to be? And am I doing that? And am I honest with myself and saying, hey, I'm going to value this, I'm not going to tolerate that? And the autosuggestion is me talking to my higher self, and my higher self talking to my lower self now, and bringing me up. And we all have the power to do that. We have to keep doing that. And that's why great groups like this keep us going. And that's why we're here. And so love all you guys for that. You bring out the best in all of us.
Yeah, I love it, Phil. Thank you. Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, great conversation, guys. When it comes to the woman that I'm speaking to now, a lot of guys, they say, well, if I was you, I wish I was you, and I say, well, first of all, no, you don't. And second of all, I choose to be me. I choose to be single right now. Because I told myself the next woman I'm going to be with is going to be the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. And that's who I have right now on the other end of this line, on the other end of the line. And I'm very happy with her mind and her looks. But I chose that. And then back to our mental state and charging ourselves up. So I just went through an experience, and this goes to the formula that Michael just mentioned. I went through this experience. So I've always interviewed very, very well. And that's what's gotten me through the door. I have a very short civilian portfolio because of my military experience. So I had to come in hot on those interviews. And what I would do was just get myself in this mental state, look in the mirror, charge myself up. I mean, just yelling at myself so that when I sat down in front of that panel or whatever it was, I knocked it out of the park. So I did that recently. Job came down, a very, very well-paying job to be chief of staff for a very, very wealthy businessman who travels the world, and it's going to be this great opportunity for a single guy. And but I made it to the third round. I knocked it out of the park. I made it through 4 interviews, and now, or 2 interviews, and now I'm third round. Now I got to sit with the client. Now I have to make a decision. I have to visualize what my life's going to look like working for this man, and what my life looks like right now, trying to be an entrepreneur, start a business with friends, and be able to have full access to my kids like I do now. So I had to visualize these two lives. What am I going to do? And right now, I can tell you, I'm not going to take the job. But I do want to sit down with this gentleman and network with him. And networking is always a good thing. But my choice is to have more access to my kids rather than running around the world and limiting the access that I have now. So it was a choice.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the fact that the word choice keeps showing up, because everything, every day in our lives is a choice, not somebody's choice, but your choice. Michael.
I love that, Rob. That's great, buddy. Fantastic. Good for you. Good for you. You got to value, you got to place the importance. You got to put your thumb on the scale, right, of what's important and when in life. There was a thing I posted this morning. Well, I scheduled a while ago, but it went out this morning. What was like, when we're young, we value volume over results. We prioritize volume over results, options, opportunities, adventures, women, whatever it is, right? And eventually, as we get older, we totally focus on results rather than volume. We're like, I don't have time for all these other things. Anyway, so I'm working on a concept. I haven't presented it to Phil yet as part of my academy, but if everyone's got a moment, do yourselves a favor and draw an upside down triangle. So an arrow, aka an arrow pointing down. And the idea here is that at the very and give it, what is it, 6 sections, right? So upside down triangle, 6 sections, right? One at the bottom and going all the way up. You could draw this the other way around too, but I think it actually becomes more powerful, wrong side up, as it were. So at the very top, write destiny in the top of that section of the triangle. And the bottom section of the triangle, write thoughts. Because here's one of the things that autosuggestion, going back to the original question of today, means to me is it's the hammer and chisel of your thoughts, right? It's arming yourself to control the thought process. Because your thoughts, and then the next word up in this triangle, right? Above thoughts, you would put your words. What is your word choice? What words are you using to describe you, your life, what you want, right? Your thoughts lead to your words. Those words, of course, lead to the type of actions that you want to take. So thoughts, words, actions as we move our way up from the bottom part of this upside down triangle. And because the actions are the things that are manifesting in the world, right? Like we can think what we want, we can say what we want, the results are going to be in the actions, right? The results are going to be the things that you choose to do in this space, right? Rob's choosing to let go of that job opportunity because of his thoughts, because the words he uses around it. I've chosen my kids over these things. So that's his actions. And then here's the thing, interesting thing about actions, you guys, is that they become your habits, right? Your actions become your habits. Lewis didn't win championships because he went to the gym for a month, right? Lewis won championships because he practiced his martial art for decades. And so the actions that you decide to take become habits. They form the framework of who you are. In your epigenetic code, the habits themselves that you're practicing on a daily basis actually affect your genetic structure. It's why Lewis's face looks the same today as it did 3.5 years ago when I met him in New York City and gave him a big hug. Right? It's because his genetics decided that's what my face looks like, and it keeps reinforcing it. You produce billions of cells every single day. You replace your entire body on a cellular level every 7 years. So that means that literally Yaniv is a brand new person than who he was 7 years ago from a cellular level. But his cells have the habit of remembering exactly what he looks like, exactly what he thinks, exactly what he holds true and holds most important. Those are all habits deeply ingrained in the genetic code of a human being so that we don't have to think about these complicated shit that goes on around us every single day. We can just focus on the things that are important. So habits, of course, then lead to something that Frank and I have talked a lot about, which is your character. Who the heck are you? Right? Josh is 19 years old. He gets to choose all of these things now. You know, when he's 38 years old, the fact that he's here at 19 will dictate his entire future. And he'll be on a completely different trajectory than if he decided to log off today because his audio wasn't working and not come back. Right? Because his habits define his character. And so the idea that he jumped back in the call rather than just be like, whatever. You know, it's 11. I'm going to go get a sandwich. Right? That defines who he is. And of course, your character, gentlemen, is the thing that leads to destiny in the end. Right? As we talked about at the beginning of autosuggestion, right? The things that you do, the things that you choose are the destiny that you achieve, right? You are these things. And ultimately, if we want to achieve more, we have to move past our primal wiring of sit down on the couch, right? Have a donut and don't move all day long because everything else is dangerous besides existing. And so, but the fact is your destiny is defined by your character. Your character is defined by your habits. Your habits are defined by the actions you take. Your actions are defined by the thoughts in your brain, and your thoughts are defined by the words, or the words, sorry, defined by the thoughts. And so to me, this is like this little structure I've been working on and thinking about, because it boils down to the one primary element. You think and grow rich, right? So the thoughts are the things that lead to the words, the actions, the habits, the character, the destiny. And if you want to accomplish amazing things, it starts with the thoughts.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, Michael, spot on. You know, F.M. Alexander has a quote that says, "We don't get to choose our destiny. We get to choose our habits, and our habits will determine our destiny."
Yeah.
Right. And that's exactly what Michael just said. In all of those words, that's exactly what he just said. And again, it goes back to choices. And we all have the opportunity, a multitude of opportunities every single day to make choices. Sometimes we make the right choices. Sometimes we make no choice, which may not be the right choice. Sometimes we make the wrong choice, and then we gain experience and we learn, right? So you're always going to learn from whatever action you take, but the key word is that you have to take some action, whether it be the action that Rob has taken to say, no, I'm not going to accept that job based on what's higher on the priority scale in his life, right? You know, go ahead, Rob. I see your hand up. I brought you in. Go ahead, go up.
Yeah, no, I think Michael, you said something very interesting to me, and hammer and chisel. You know, and for me, how I see that in my life is how I work on my mental state, my mental health, my mind state, mental anchors, all these things that you can do mentally to get those thoughts in line. It's work. It's the work you put in. So yeah, I love that hammer and chisel. I'm gonna peel that back a lot this week. I love that. Thanks, Mike.
Well, so Robin, I use it because I've always been inspired, and I think Phil and I have talked about this before, about this image. There's a great statue. There's now a few of them, half a dozen of them over the world, but of this chunk of rock, and there's a man chiseling his own leg out of the chunk of rock. Right. So the image is such that, like, if you think of a big huge slab of marble or granite, right, and there's this beautiful artist inside the granite. He's carved himself out of this piece of granite, and so he's unfinished, right? Like his legs are still in granite, and he's chiseling out his thigh. That's the statue, and that's how I see what we're all going through, right? Is that you are both the art and the artist, right? Michelangelo said that the statue of David was already inside the marble. He just had to reveal it. Isn't that beautiful? Like he just said, I had to keep chiseling and I had to keep polishing until the angel was revealed. Those are his words, not mine. And I mean, David is one of the most remarkable pieces of art ever made. And the fact is that you are the same, right? So you are busy polishing, hammering, chiseling away the barnacles of life and the mold that accumulates on you and the moss and the weathering and like all of this. Life happens to you, right? And you don't get to choose what happens to you. You just get to choose how you respond to it. So ultimately, to me, affirmations are one of the tools. They're part of the hammer and the chisel and the oils and the cloth and everything else that a master sculptor would show up with, right? And these are the things, and affirmations are part of that toolkit to hammer away at the crap that accumulates on ourselves and to realize that, you know, Lewis is an unfinished project. Who Lewis is today will be different and smaller than what he becomes in a decade from now, right? He's just going to get bigger and bigger. And so he's chiseling that out. And there's what I love about this, you guys, is that part of you, you know, if you're thinking about yourself as a statue, your arms, your shoulders might be unfinished right now. And so you're continuing to clarify and specify and get more get more clean about what these things mean and how they represent themselves. And that's why that whole idea about, like, when we're young, we want options and we're looking for volume, whereas as we get older, we look for specificity and very specific results. The volume becomes less important because we know we understand that there's a limited window of time.
Yeah,
And
Michael,
so
I
the
like what
choices refine it.
Mike, I love what you just said, Michael, and the fact that when we're young, we want to stay open to all those opportunities. And I really think it's important for us, regardless of age, is to understand that there are always opportunities around us, but we need to become focused on what it is that we want to achieve with the opportunities that appear,
Yeah.
right? And so,
That's why
if
you
we
can't
can,
eat your cake and bake it too.
that's right. So if you have focus, that creates a mental direction, right? So when you realize, okay, this is what I want to do, this is what I want to have, then you start to mentally focus all of your thoughts, all of your education, all of your listenings, everything that you bring into your life is focused in that direction. And some of you have already experienced that. I know Luis certainly has in regard to pursuing a world championship in mixed martial arts. I mean, he knew what he wanted and he made sure that everything he did was in alignment with that. And every one of us has probably experienced something to that degree in our lives if we just look back and reflect on it. And the beauty of it is that it happens all the time. And you can allow it to happen again. It doesn't have to change because now you're an older adult. No, you can still focus, make change, and go in a different direction, right? You have the choice. You have the opportunity to take advantage of everything you want. I want to share something that before we wrap things up, Phil Conway put in the comments. It's a formula. T plus F plus A equals R. Thought plus feeling, also known as emotion or vibration, plus action, habits, equals results. I mean, it's really that simple, right? Thoughts plus feelings plus action equals results. Just write that down and use that as your formula to accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish. Right. Hey guys, thank you so much this week for your time. I see we're coming up on just over the top of the hour. Next week, we're going to be talking about specialized knowledge. So please open the book, go through that chapter, and expose yourself to the information in the book, and come prepared to have a great discussion next week on what is your specialized knowledge and how are you using it to live the life that you want to live. Anyone have any final comments before we wrap things up?
I had fun this morning, guys. Thank you.
All right.
Good
Thanks,
stuff.
guys. Enjoyed. Great
Thank you, guys.
conversation. The replay will be out later on today. Please make sure you watch it. You'll pick up something that you missed and share it with a friend and invite them to come next week. Have a great one. Talk to you later.
Terrific
Thank
Tuesday,
you,
all.
everyone. Great to be here again. Thank you.
Happy
All right.
Independence Week.
Good to see you, Yaniv.